Hey, and welcome to another Podcast Valley Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Chris Paco.
And I'm your other host, Jeff Cameron.
How's it going, Jeff?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. It's a big episode here for Podcast Valley Sunday.
It's a bittersweet moment.
It really is.
Podcast Valley Sunday headquarters.
We've come to episode 58 of the Monkees, the final episode of the series. Mijacogeo, a.k.a. the Frodis Caper. And I have to be honest, I never knew it as anything else. I always thought it was just called the Frodis Caper.
Yeah, me too. Well, I knew the Mijacogeo thing from this book and like the back of Birds and the Bees and the Monkees, but it's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's directed by our main man, Micky Dolenz.
How about that?
In the director's seat, written by Micky Dolenz and Dave Evans, and originally aired on March 25th, 1968.
Wow.
Yes.
The birth date of future new monkey Larry Saltis.
There you go. Interesting. That's right. I remember that coming up in our new Monkees episode. So the passing of the torch happened on this day. Just nobody knew it yet.
For real.
And I do want to, if you listen to our last program, at the end of it there, you heard a little thing going. I just want to give a shout out to our main man, Mike Italiano, who, I hope I said your last name right. He made up that Frodis Caper bit, and it's our first piece of fan art we've ever gotten.
For real. It's very cool to hear someone or something else say Podcast Valley Sunday. That was really neat.
Yeah.
And there's a nice little bit of editing on your part at the end of the episode there, I must say.
Yes, I hope everybody was like, oh my God, they uploaded something that doesn't work. It came through. But yeah, we just wanted to give a shout out because he did it and didn't want to think we were just doing it ourselves. So you always got to give props. Always.
Absolutely. It was a fun surprise, to be sure. Even just receiving that was very cool, and be able to use it is even cooler.
Yeah, when we first got it, I was like, ooh, this is cool. We should just play it because we got it like a month or so ago. And
the end was on the horizon.
Yeah, exactly. So then I figured, we could use this as like a teaser for the final episode. So there it was, and pretty fun.
Yeah, it was perfect. Yeah.
Okay, so back to the Frodis Caper here. We open up to like a weird contraption that leads to a magnifying glass, and the sun shines through it and burns a rope that drops a needle on a record. And Good Morning by the Beatles starts to play, and we see that we're in the Monkees' bedroom. Pretty cool to hear Good Morning, and a great contraption to be an alarm clock.
It's pretty neat. Definitely it feels very Mickey.
Definitely. Very first season Mickey. He was the gadget guru.
Yeah.
And so each guy is in their bed with the car sheets on it. And they each knock an alarm clock off the table beside their bed, except for Peter, who once again isn't there. It's 2 episodes in a row. We open up without Peter. So Davey asks where Peter is, and Mike says,
he's probably not back in his dream yet.
And he says, that's impossible. Peter doesn't dream, which leads to Mike saying, well, in that case, he's gone.
He's gone.
Had to get one more in there.
Yeah. One thing I'll step in right now and say, this episode is like an amalgamation of so many Monkees tropes, kind of like the last one, but this one, Mickey really hammers it home.
Oh yeah. They round up a bit of everything.
So Mike freaks out and they rock the film back and forth a little bit, another Monkees thing. And they decide to go downstairs, and we get another Monkees classic freeze frame with the words freeze frame on the screen.
Yeah.
And I heard that this part here I read was the inspiration for the song Freeze Frame that came out in the 80s. It was part of the Monkees Renaissance. They saw this episode and like, that'd be a great song title.
By the Jay Giles Band?
Yeah. Because they said, what did that say? The one guy missed it. And the one guy said, freeze frame. He said, freeze frame? He said, freeze frame. And they're like, wait a second.
Woo.
And then someone stepped on a cat and they went, and they're like, oh my God, that's so annoying. We should make it a song. And then freeze frame was born.
Didn't know that.
And America's Funniest Home Videos has been using it ever since. So the boys take off and they go downstairs and they're looking for Peter. And once again, Peter's in a trance. It's 2 episodes where Peter's in a trance.
Back to back.
Back to back. So he's sitting in front of the TV, but no one can find him. They're looking all around him and can't seem to find Peter, even though he's sitting there.
You see, they skipped the step where he got kidnapped or something.
Yeah.
Now he's just in a trance at home.
Yeah, exactly. So Mickey goes through a pile of clothes and he finds his bass drum.
Hey, look, there's my bass drum I thought I lost.
And they can't seem to find Peter anywhere, even though he's right in front of them. And Mike says that there's only one thing left to do, and there's a jump cut. And Mike now has a lost and found sign around his neck, and his sunglasses, which he was wearing while he was sleeping, are now upside down. And Mike looks like he's a jewel thief from a cartoon. He just looks so, he's all dressed in black, got those tinted glasses. And so Mike introduces himself as a lost and found man. And Mickey says he's looking for Peter Tork. And a quick flash of Peter's face from the end credits, like the yellow background. And Mike says that it's a coincidence because he's looking for him himself. And Mickey asks if he's found him. Mike says,
No, I'm sad to report I didn't.
and then we jump cut back to normal Mickey and Mike. And Mickey starts to cry because Peter's not there, so someone has to cry.
Yeah.
And Davy's checking out Peter, but doesn't seem to connect the dots that it's Peter. And he tells Mickey and Mike there's another weird statue with the wooden Indian statue. And they go to check it out, and Mickey and Mike they have working eyes and brains, and they realize that it's Peter. And so Mickey realized that the image on the TV must have put him into a trance. And as the boys are looking at it, they too become all trancy. But luckily, they make their way slowly towards the TV and turn it off. And they think it's pretty weird, but Mike tells them that if they think that that's weird, they should stick around and see what happens after the intro.
Yeah.
And
after the commercial, yeah.
Yeah, he says that.
But the first little thing, when Mickey finds the drum, I wonder if that was a subtle little thing. There's like, oh yeah, we're also a music band sometimes.
It could be, yeah. This whole season, they've been under clothes. It's like, couldn't be a band.
For real.
That's a good point. That's a good catch. And so then Mike starts listing off pretty much everything that's going to happen in the episode.
Well, there's this weird guy named Wizard Glick who's really evil. And then the people who live next door are all
What happens to the people who live next door?
Oh, it's incredible. We're going to save the world as usual.
And they walk off set and it goes dark. And then we hear a gunshot for some reason. Which,
that's shooting the last alarm clock that's been ringing this whole time during the cold open.
So the gunshot is that. And so then that leads us into the intro.
Yeah, about 2.5 minutes in, but they snuck a gun under the wire here in the 58th episode. Just off camera anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering. I was like, oh man, how are they going out? But they're going out shooting.
With a bang.
Going out with a bang. So we come back to a spooky sounding theme. And I like that they had one of these themes for the last episode because the last one didn't have it. And we see the boys running down the street, and Mickey and Mike check on the neighbors. And inside, the family's watching the TV and they're all in a trance. Mike says he thinks the test pattern has a hold of everybody and they better check on the other neighbors. And they start to leave, but Mickey doesn't move. So Mike comes back and says the same thing, tries to leave again, but Mickey's getting sucked into the trance. So Mike comes in and he screams at Mickey, which scares the crap out of Mickey. And he just like screams his way out the door. Mickey's turned up for this episode he's directing.
Oh, yeah.
He's really feeling it. So Davy runs up to another house, and inside he sees Niles, who's obviously his best friend. And he's staring at the TV. And Davy tries to snap him out of it, and he tells him that he's in a trance. Then Niles turns to him and says,
What TV? Man, I'm always like this.
and Davy freaks out and takes off and meets up with Mickey and Mike on the lawn. And Mickey says they need to get to the TV station and figure out what's going on. That's obviously, they should take it into their own hands and go do this at the TV station. So they get into the TV studio and see a stagehand, but he's also in a trance and can't talk. So Mickey wonders what kind of maniacal mind could be plotting such a conspiracy. And we cut like to the broadcast room or whatever it would be. And we see Wizard Glick, played by our main man, Rip Taylor.
Wow.
And his cronies.
It's working!
Like, was Monty Landis, like, had to do a guest spot on Batman or something tonight?
Yeah, something to get Rip Taylor on the phone.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, once Rip Taylor, always Rip Taylor.
Right? Like, if you watch, and like the Jackass movies, he's in the end of the Jackass movies, and he might as well be playing Wizard Glick. Because he's got one note, but he plays it perfectly.
Yep.
So we go back to the boys who say, oh yeah, that kind of evil person. And Mickey suddenly realizes who can help them.
This looks like a job for Monkey Man.
And Davy sees a phone booth and they all run to it, which shows us that the wall of the TV studio was just a fake wall. And like they run and they're outside the whole time, which is pretty impressive, I think. There's some good lighting there.
TV magic.
TV magic. And so just as they're all about to change in the phone booth, Davy sees a sign.
Federal Law W443 paragraph 7 prohibits the use of any public phone booth for the purpose of changing into or out of secret identification.
And so Mickey says if they can't change into their secret identities, the entire TV audience is doomed. And Davy says to look out. It's the heat. And we see a telephone van drive by. And Mike says that's okay. They just won't change. And then they all try to get out of the booth, but of course they can't. And there's not even glass on the doors. Like Mickey just jumps through the one window.
He totally does.
Davy scoots through the bod when Mike has the most trouble trying to get out. And then we cut to a disturbingly close up of Glick's mouth. And it's very moist and disgusting.
Right in there.
And he's saying that his plan is almost complete and soon it will be 12. And a shot of the clock shows that it's 10 to 12. And his disgusting mouth says that he will throw the switch that will activate the Freeble Energizer, which will unleash the power of the Frodis. And with the aid of his villainous henchmen, who are the monkey stand-ins, and they're all holding little Frodis machines that I would love to be able to buy. One of those little TVs with the Frodis thing on it. With that, he can control the minds of millions. And then we cut to some stock footage of Hitler. For crying out loud. And they're very loose with the Nazi Hitler stuff I've noticed in the 60s. Or at least on the Monkees. Maybe everything else was like, no. But Monkees are like, we'll show Hitler.
Yeah. It's like, Vietnam ain't so bad. Remember Hitler?
Probably that's it, right?
Yeah.
So one of the henchmen says, hey, boss, look at this. And Glick corrects him and says, look at this, your royal wizardry. And the guy thinks that he's talking to him. And he comes over to look, and Glick gets instantly pissed off and hits him with his wand. And Glick asks what the issue is, and the dude says that it's the Monkey Men monitor. It hasn't been active in 5 years. So Glick gets re-pissed and calls them swine.
Not swine, monkeys.
And Glick says that they think they're going to get into his citadel. So he tells the dude to release the two-headed org. And Glick is wearing like a cape and like a pilgrim's hat, which is a weird getup.
It's very weird getup. Yeah.
So the dude snaps his fingers and a hand switches the lever by a sign that says two-headed org release. And the org is released. And it's kind of lackluster because just two dudes with pantyhose on their heads sharing a leopard print dress. And they just pound on their chests and cough.
They're two of the stand-in henchmen guys,
yeah,
clearly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just throw them in this thing.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they were at the end of like their wardrobe room, and they're just like, "Oh shoot, we need. What do we got here? Some pantyhose and a leotard. Okay, put those on those guys, and we'll go with that." So, and it comes up again later. We'll point it out. So Mickey, Mike, and Davey are walking through the studio, and Mickey freaks out.
What? A two-headed org?
And the other boys freak out. Mike suggests that they look in the Monkey Men manual, and Mickey just happens to have it stuffed down his pants.
Oh, nice.
So he looks through it, and he realizes that to take care of a two-headed org...
Jump on down 3 times, roll a head of cabbage, and giggle.
So the boys do it, and the org dies. It's them cheering. And they sing Ding Dong, the org is dead. And Glick and his henchmen are watching on the Monkey Men monitor. And he freaks out, knocks off his pilgrim hat. And so one of the henchmen puts it on. Honestly, I thought they were going to like pass it down the line. Like it was going to keep going to the next guy behind him.
No,
and,
not that improv.
No.
But I remember loving the cabbage and the giggling. Like that was the kind of just random shit I was into back when we were into this in the 90s. It was so funny. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I love that they happen to have the cabbage with them.
Just I don't know where they produced this cabbage.
So Glick tells them to release the TV repairmen because they've never let him down. And a hand switches the lever next to a sign that says TV repairmen release. And a bunch of TV repairmen come out of a closet, each holding TVs with the weird test pattern on it. And so one of them hides as the boys come up to him, but they all get distracted by a cardboard box and they don't look at the TV. Like, these guys keep trying to get the Monkees to look at these tiny portable televisions.
Yeah.
Like, Davy's going through a pile of stuff and the repairman comes up behind him holding a TV, but Davy's cluelessness saves him and he never notices it. The repairman looks at the TV to make sure it's working, and then he falls under the trance. Another guy tries to get them with his TV, but it starts acting up and they walk right past him. And so the boys are walking behind another set. Like, I wonder what set it is, or if it's just like the pad. You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
Yeah, maybe it's the farmer's daughter set to go full circle.
You know what's in that drawer?
So, and another TV repairman tries to get them, but a pretty girl opens the door and the boys follow her. There's always a pretty girl to save them.
I think that was Valerie. I'm not 100% sure, though.
I wondered that too. There's another girl who comes up. I was like, ooh, is that Valerie? I don't know.
Yeah.
So then there's some stock footage of a tidal wave and the TV repairman leaves. I wonder what that stock footage of the tidal wave means.
There's got a lot of stock footage to get through. I think.
Yeah. See, Glick should have hired TV repair women instead. So he could get the Monkees and also lead the way in the TV repair industry with equal rights. Like, he would have been a hero. To the
For real. That's the lasting impact of this, the Monkey series.
Wizard Glick. Yeah, so then we go to a commercial from there. And Davey, Mickey, and Mike are walking around, and Mike suddenly tells them,
Hey, wait a minute, guys. You know what? It's 7:30, 6:30 Central Time. It's time for the Monkees. What everybody around here's got a television set.
and then all of a sudden they get surrounded by TV repairmen holding TVs. So the boys are tied to chairs, and they say that there's no way they're going to get out of there, and if only they could get a hold of somebody. And Mike says, what about Peter? And Mickey says that he's all the way back at the pad, which is probably right on the other side of one of these set walls, really. But
Yeah.
Mike says, what about mental telepathy? And Davey says, do you mean like that psychedelic stuff? And Mike says,
Yeah, all the groups are doing it. You know, Psycho-Jello.
How does it work?
Psycho Jello. That comes up a lot.
it does. Jello should have had a tie-in, like Monkees Psycho Jello. It could have been red and tasted like monkey paws or something.
J-E-double-L.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Missed opportunity, folks.
Oh, man. So Davey asks how it works. Mike says he doesn't know, but Mickey does. And he says that they have to concentrate really hard and repeat this chant. And Mike asks if it's a chant that he learned when he was studying transcendental meditation under an Indian mystic. And Mickey says,
It's a chant that I learned when I sent in a cereal box top.
probably the Kellogg's cereal box top, I would assume.
Speaking of sponsors.
Yeah. So they start to chant. And then they jump cut like to Mike and Mickey in like some Indian garb with a sitar and little drums. And we see that back at the pad, Peter's starting to hear them. And Peter says he's starting to feel like he's being impelled to move by the chant of the transcendental meditations of an Indian mystic. And he hears Mickey's voice say,
No, Peter, it's a chant I got with a cereal box top.
and then that's good enough for Peter. And he gets up and takes off. So we see Mike and Mickey chanting. And Mickey chants that it's working. And Mike says, how do you know? How do you know?
No, Peter, it's a chant I got with a cereal box top.
Classic Monkees. Classic.
Yes. Love it.
So Glick is watching Peter through the Monkey Man monitor, and he says that he won't be able to stop him. And go back to Mike and Mickey chanting, back to Glick watching Peter, chanting, Glick, Peter talking to a pretty girl, tidal wave, chanting, Peter walking alone, Glick watching Peter walk right up to his front door where Peter knocks, and Glick answers and asks Peter if he can help him. Peter says that he's getting a telepathic message to come to the TV studio, and Glick invites him in. And then Peter's getting tied to a chair with all the other boys. So
Oh, jeez.
he made it there, but maybe a little hitch.
The instructions were unclear as to what he was supposed to do when he got there.
Yeah, exactly. It was just get here. So, he followed what he had to do. And so Davey and Mike asked Mickey what was up with the chant because they thought it came with a guarantee.
Well, yeah, it does come with a guarantee. However, it only covers the chantors, not the chantee.
And Peter, of course, is chantee.
Of course.
So Peter sees a telephone and bounces over to it and calls the cops, all the while Mike is trying to get his attention. And Peter makes the call and bounces back, and Mike shows him that he wasn't tied up anymore and that he could have done all that. And Mickey says that they still have to defeat Glick and foil his evil plan. And Davy says that he has a plan to foil the plan. Glick and his henchmen are stoked that their plan is working, but suddenly Davy's up in the rafters with a megaphone, telling them that they're surrounded by the Monkees. Peter tells them not to reach for their weapons, and Mickey tells them not to move. And Mike says not even to attempt to write home.
Okay.
One of the henchmen tells Glick that they aren't licked yet, and that he has a way to get them out of there, and starts chanting. And then the boys start yelling through their megaphones, and it becomes very nuts and annoying. A lot of chanting, a lot of yelling. Just like, oh, God's sakes. So, cut to, the boys are tying up Glick and his henchmen, and for some reason now they're all dressed in black. I don't know when they decided to make the switch. And Davy says that they have what's his name, and Mickey tells him that it's Glick, and Davy says, okay, let's do that again.
We've got, what's his name over there? Glick. Right, Glick. Let's do it again. Okay.
Which is pretty funny.
I like that when they redo it, yeah.
Yeah, even in the commentary, Mickey laughs at that part when it comes up. So it's definitely Davy not knowing the lines.
And yeah, them dressed all in black is like a throwback to when they're the cat burglars or whatever at the picture frame one of the other ones. But it's just a semi-iconic monkey look, which is nice considering we didn't get the monkey men suits on, so we got this look at least.
So Davy says that they have Glick out of the way, but the machine is still going. So they have to find the Frodis and put it out of business. And Peter says, well, at least they got these villains. And then we hear a siren and the cops bust in with their guns pointed. So more guns.
Oh, there we go.
And so the guns are pointed at the Monkees, and they say that they got their call and they'll get them out of the ropes in no time. And obviously they're not responding to Peter's call. And the boys just should have stayed in the ropes. So the Fuzz thinks that the monkey men are trying to take over the world, and they round them up and get Glick and his henchmen out of the ropes. And Glick is super stoked and full of Rip Taylorness.
They're such bad kids. Marvelous. They're villainous. I hate them. You did right by taking them away. I didn't do a thing. I'm innocent, you can see. It's nothing at all. Separate checks, please. Faster, dum-dum.
And
Ripitude.
So the cops are taking the Monkees away, but then realize that it's time for Dragnet and ask if there's a TV around. And Mickey points to the one in the window, and all the cops are under the trance of the Frodis. So the boys take off, but Peter's now under the trance again, so they have to carry him away.
Oh,
Poor Peter. Man. So back at the TV studio, the boys carry Peter through the door, and then first he gets stuck, and they have to do it a couple times. And Mickey says that they have to stop Glick. And Mike comments that it was very easy to get in there and wonder if it was some kind of a trick, a Glick trick, if you will. And then we cut to Mike.
It was some kind of a trick.
So the boys are chained together with a sleeping guard who has the keys, and Mike attempts to get them from him, but when he leans forward, he chokes Mickey. And so Mike wakes him up and asks if he'd like to engage in a game of chance with them. And the guard says that he doesn't have any money. And the guys say, oh, well, we could play for your gun or for the filing cabinet or even for your keys, maybe. And the guard says, well, he couldn't play for his keys. And Davy says, even for this lifelike statue, which is Peter. And the guard seems really into this sex doll of Peter Tork. And now he says, well, they could play a couple hands. And Mickey says, well, they don't have any cards.
Cards? Did you say cards? I have cards.
And he pulls a deck of loose cards out of his mouth, magician style. And he does a bunch of quick tricks, and the boys know that they're in over their heads.
Oh,
and,
yeah, immediately.
And they say, well, maybe he wants to play cribbage. And the guard he asks how to play it, doesn't know how to play it. So the boys tell him to deal the cards, and then they essentially make up the rules as they need to so they can win.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, they end up winning. And they take the keys and unlock themselves. But the guard, he keeps saying that he has a cribbage.
I have a cribbage.
He has a cribbage. He is like convinced. This game we just found out about. He has a cribbage.
Yeah, he's adamant.
Is this one of the scenes with the two cameras? And you can sort of tell was shot with two cameras.
Yeah, Mickey does that in a couple scenes. He says he does a couple scenes with two cameras when it's at its most wackiness. So the editors will have an easier time cutting it together with continuity. And this is one of those times, all the card tricks and all them yelling over each other.
Absolutely. And this is kind of become sort of a standard thing, the multi-camera sitcom. Like Mickey, from being on in front of the camera, kind of caught onto this as being like, it would make this a lot better.
Yeah.
Let's get 2 of these cameras in here. We have the technology.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
this will be a lot easier for everybody, and we won't have to like move the camera, do the scene again for other angles, and like very innovative.
Yeah.
That's our man, Micky Dolenz.
Yeah, and it's surprising that it wasn't done on more things at the time, right? Like, I guess they were still shooting to film, wasn't like to video like they are now. But
it's
still makes
pretty
it easier.
new. The fact that there's this camera recording stuff like in color.
Yeah.
It's like, you expect us to have 2 of these? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. So the boys carry Peter into another room, and of course he gets hung up on the door again. And Mike said he's getting caught up 7 times coming down the hall. So they just lean him against the door and say they'll come back for him later. A tough episode for Peter. He doesn't do too much.
I wonder if Mickey totally sidelines Peter in this episode. It gives him like almost no lines, and it's just in literal dummy mode most of the time.
He's like Jennifer in the Back to the Future sequels. It's just like she's constantly passed out. They just carry her from place to place and knock her unconscious.
I read somewhere Bob Zemeckis said Peter in this episode is the inspiration for the treatment of Jennifer in Back to the Future Part 2.
I agree. I think that was in the Back to the Future commentary he got that from.
Wow. How about that?
So they prop Peter up and he falls down and Davey catches him. So they prop him up again on a coat rack, and there's a freeze frame with the word prop pointing at the coat rack, and Peter's fine there. So Mickey says that they have to find the Frodis room and stop it, but Davey says there are too many doors. How are they going to find the Frodis room? And suddenly a door opens and some smoke pours out. Niles from earlier, he hangs a sign that says Frodis room, and he walks away.
Yeah, Frodis room.
What would you do for a Frodis room sign?
Oh man, that'd be awesome. I'd do a lot just have a Niles to hang out with all the time. Get super baked with him on the Frodis. So
Yeah, man.
the boys dash into the room, and when they close the door, one of the sides of the sign comes off and it swings, which is probably a blooper, but it works out perfectly.
Oh, totally.
You can't trust Niles to hang a perfect sign.
Nah.
So the boys fall into the room and see the Frodis is standing right in front of them. And they get the Frodis is like a bunch of leaves and an obvious football.
Definitely a football.
With an eye glued to it. Which again, scraping the bottom of the prop room barrel, I think.
For real. It was the football was in the pilgrim hat.
Yeah, exactly. So Mickey pulls out the pea shooter and Davey has the peas. And Mickey tells Mike to make the shot count because they've only got 1 pea. And just as they're about to shoot, the Frodis speaks.
Wait, please.
And the boys freak out, and the Frodis tells them that it's friendly, and Glick captured it when its spaceship landed, and he's using the Frodis power to control people's minds. So Frodis catches them all up right away. And the Frodis needs to get back to its ship to recharge its energy and undo the evil that has been unleashed, and it asks for the Monkees' help. And so the boys are crying because they almost killed it. Now they're all crying. And they promise to help it.
I can't stand to see a grown bush cry.
So they go to pick it up, but Glick and his henchmen pop up from out of nowhere, and there's a freeze frame again with the words "Typical Monkey Romp" on the screen. And that would be an awesome shirt. A shirt that says "Typical Monkeys Romp."
Typical monkey romp, yeah.
I think that'd be fantastic. So the last Monkeys Romp is to Zor and Zam, the OG version of Zor and
For
Zam.
real. Yeah.
And Mickey's carrying the Frodis, and Mike and Davey are carrying Peter. What a pain in the ass that must have been.
For
It's
real.
like, why couldn't they just get him out of the trance so he can run with them at the end, for crying out loud?
Yeah, no, you gotta carry him around the rest of the show.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Mick.
Yeah. So Glick and his henchmen aren't far behind, and they're running through the back lot in slow motion. Glick is hiding behind a tree. The boys look absolutely miserable carrying Peter. And but they carry on. A lot of low-angle shots of each of them. Oh, actually, sorry. Davey seems to be having fun, but Mike looks absolutely miserable carrying Peter, as you can imagine.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. So the henchmen still have their little TVs with the Frodis on them, but the Frodis isn't in front of the camera, so it shouldn't be there unless they had some sort of tape delay. There's a super quick shot of what looks like Bob Rafelson wrapped up in a white blanket, but it's actually Bert Schneider wrapped up in a white blanket for some reason.
Okay. So we got a Mr. Schneider of some sort in this episode, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So the boys get the Frodis to its spaceship with Glick and the henchmen close behind. The henchmen are carrying shrubs to hide behind, which is kind of funny. And the boys are trying to get the Frodis to take off. And the Frodis gets kind of pissed.
I'm charging as fast as I can.
And so the Frodis pops out of the top of the spaceship and some more smoke pours out and covers Glick and the henchmen, who suddenly don't want to fight anymore and are all groovy.
I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to lay down in the grass and be cool.
They're all groovy, man.
And the boys rejoice, and Peter snaps out of it, and everyone is happy, and Mike is spinning his finger in the air.
That's the extent of Mike's celebration.
Yeah. And that is essentially the end of the storyline part of the Monkees series in total. Mm-hmm. But we come back, and it's Tim Buckley. He shows up and sits down on the car that Mike and Frank Zappa smashed in the last episode.
Yeah.
And he sings a song and plays this beautiful 12-string Guild acoustic.
Yeah, man.
And the song is called Song to the Siren. And there are some really cool effects. And the song is very cool. And it's like a lot of zooming in and fading and a bunch of that. Yeah. And it's not like the zaniness of the episode at all. But it's a cool performance. But I do kind of wish the Monkees themselves had the last song in the last episode of the series. Like the last musical note is not a Monkees.
It is weird that that's how it went out. And maybe they didn't have the sequence of the series itself figured out. Because, yeah, it is an odd way to go out.
Yeah, especially very somber. It's a great, like, hey, Tim Buckley you can't complain. But it is very strange that the swan song of the Monkees is essentially Tim Buckley sitting on a car that Frank Zappa smashed. And that's how the Monkees go out.
So like the Tim Buckley clip and the other clips with their guest music friends, it was kind of, it was definitely, the boys seemed to recognize the power that this Monday night promotional megaphone that they had. Mm-hmm. And just to use it for their friends and to invite them on the show and kind of maybe influence a new direction for the show itself. Yeah. And unfortunately, I guess NBC did not quite agree. And so it became a mutual parting of ways instead, which is a bummer.
Yeah. Even in the commentary, Mickey says what they were pitching. He said it kind of turned into Laugh-In. Like the kind of thing they were going for. And we might have mentioned this when we brought this up before, but could you imagine if that's what happened and it became as big as Laugh-In? Like the Monkees just hit this other stride of entertainment, and it would have been a very, like, I wonder then if, let's just say that happened and the Laugh-In Monkees becomes another bump, a huge bump again.
Yeah.
Would we now remember the Monkees more for being TV dudes than being music dudes?
I don't know. Would they make the movie? Would Peter leave?
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Like, it changes literally everything.
Yeah. We'll have to see in the monkey multiverse what happened in that timeline. So, overall thoughts from me on this episode. Really great editing and using flash cuts and cool angles. Like, Mickey was really feeling, I could definitely see how at this moment in time, you're feeling very creative and very, like very good at your art kind of thing. And so you feel, it's kind of like when you're in high school or like you first get into film school, everything you're trying, everything is like confident and crazy because you don't know any better yet. There's no one there to say like, no, you can't do this yet. So I think Mickey was really stretching it out, like really feeling himself.
And he's like immersed in it the whole time.
Yeah.
And he's got the resources available, and he's kind of on top of the world.
100%.
Really?
Yeah.
And so like he's probably feels a little bit invincible, and he's a clever dude, and he's got a lot of ideas, and it ends up being an episode on his director reel, which set him up a little bit for his future career as a director.
Yeah, it definitely did.
And the episode itself, this is what we talk about when we talk about season 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like all around.
Yeah. Super zany, super nutty. I can remember though, when I was younger, I did not like this episode. I don't know really why. And I just didn't dig it that much, but it's something that as I got older, I appreciated it more and more. Like I really like the throwbacks, like the freeze frame.
Yeah, the on-screen writing.
Yeah.
That hadn't happened a ton in a long time, but that was like a big part of the vibe of the early Monkees, the wackiness.
Yeah, it was
in like pushing the envelope, using the medium.
Yeah, like was it the first episode where Peter steals a towel and says everybody does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I wish Peter wasn't in a trance for 80% of the episode. We've talked about already, but I really wish he had more to do. Like he had more to do last episode when he was in a trance for the whole episode. So
and it's another one on the pile of Peter gets kidnapped and or brainwashed.
Yeah.
It feels like there's at least a dozen of these.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, other than that, another thing I don't like about it, like we've already said, ending with a non-Monkees tune is just kind of weird to me.
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
You know, whatever. It would be cool if let's just say they knew it was the end. If they had that kind of foresight, they got to know. And if they did like almost like a Hey Jude kind of thing with like a whole bunch of people in the studio and them playing like Listen to the Band or whatever the heck, and them doing that, and everybody gets in. You do like the end of like the Muppets, like where they pull out and you see all the Muppets together. They do one of those and you see the whole studio and everybody's there. It's like a send off to the Monkees, and you know, moving towards the movie kind of thing. But again, that's, you know, revisionist history. But if I made like a Quentin Tarantino-esque movie, that's how it would end.
Yeah. In the moment, obviously, Mike is kind of checked out and they're not sure about the show. And they're like, they just put out 2 pretty important albums and they're about to go in the studio like separately to finish making Birds and the Bees and the Monkey. Like they got other stuff on the go and like,
and the movie.
And like, so the show is on the back burner and maybe you're just going to shut the burner off.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much, man. Just let the gas run out.
Yeah.
So guns in this episode, heck yeah. Gunshots are heard when the screen goes black and then the cops all have guns. Mm-hmm. So at least they went out with guns.
Yeah.
Highlight of the show, good banter between the guys. Davey redoing his lines in that one scene. And Mike saying Psycho Jello.
Yeah, man. Stuff like that.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. And even though Mike is kind of checked out, he's also, when he's checked in, he's really checked in his dry Papa Nez way.
When he gets to like the little lost and found thing with Mickey, even though it was silly, he kind of elevated it and made it fun. Yeah,
put the glasses on upside down, things like that.
Yep.
Was there a Monkees ruse? Maybe with the Creebitch card game, they kind of ruse that guy a little bit, but you know,
a little bit.
Fourth wall break. Mickey chanting that he saw the last scene. Mike saying that it was some kind of trick. Looks right at the camera. And also like when they walk from the inside to the outside and it's just not even a wall. It's just the wall ends there. That's kind of that's a literal fourth wall break.
They're missing a wall or two.
Yeah. Best musical moment for me, early version of Zoran Zam. I do prefer the second version, but it's fun to hear this one too.
Definitely, yes. And we talked about it a little when it came out of the hat, but Zoran Zam was supposed to be the basis of a Saturday morning TV show.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But that didn't happen. And later on in the reruns, they replaced this song with "I Never Thought It Peculiar" from Changes.
Oh God, really?
I never thought it peculiar.
Like without, I guess it was a different arrangement without like the brass and the strings, but like it's not a song like it's not a slow motion quasi romp song at all. It's like the Davy Jones kind of soft shoe. Like what? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, I think they were just sticking the songs in because they were the songs available.
I agree, but that's
regardless of what this show is about. And also, they probably on Saturday morning didn't want this song about war and stuff.
Perhaps, I guess.
Because it is absolutely the most statement, like the most saying something political song.
Oh, yeah.
Probably in the whole Monkees repertoire.
Yeah, that Mommy and Daddy as well has a...
That, yes. So, yes, there's those two. Those two are kind of like
heavy-handed.
The two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Like that, the statement songs.
Exactly. Classic Monkees moment. There's so many of them, but He's Gone, one of them. The freeze frame with the words written on is another one. The rocking the film back and forth, another one. Mickey was hitting them all.
Yeah.
What wouldn't fly in 2022? I think it's pretty harmless, I think.
Yeah, it's all right. Pretty, nothing overtly offensive. Maybe a little Hitler clip in a kids show.
That's true.
Doesn't happen nowadays.
No, it doesn't. The only thing it really insults is your intelligence when it just uses a football as an alien. And the two-headed org.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, pretty good. So here we are to the final Did You Knows. The Monkees asked the Beatles for the use of Good Morning, Good Morning, and the Beatles were such fans of the Monkees that they let them use the song for free. And it was the first time the Beatles had let any of their songs be used for TV or film, other than their own movies, of course.
That is pretty impressive because, it's hard to, at least, it's different now, but the Beatles just didn't show up in stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's ironic because Good Morning comes off of Sgt. Pepper's, which knocked Headquarters off the top of the charts. And also, you briefly hear Davey singing Hello Goodbye in this episode. And that would go on to be the song that knocks Daydream Believer out of number 1.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the Monkees are referencing Beatles things that eventually knocked him out of a number 1 spot somewhere.
See, when I first I saw this episode before I had heard Sgt. Pepper, right? And so when I heard Sgt. Pepper, I was like, oh, this is playing that Monkey song. I thought, I think I thought it was the Monkees singing just singing that just to wake up to, you know what I mean? I didn't realize what it was. And then when I did it, I was like, oh shoot, look at that. But it is cool.
When that Sgt. Pepper's reprise comes up and the Sounds of Science beat from Falls Boutique, like, what?
Heck yeah, man. Glick's henchmen are played by Richard Klein, David Pearl, David Price, and Bruce Paul Barber, who were all the Monkey stand-ins, as we knew. And Barber is actually Mike's brother-in-law. So, mixing
that's pretty cool.
Family and business never works out.
And then Mike mentions like that the main henchman guy was his best man at his wedding.
Yep. Yeah. Which is crazy.
They're like a big family, these guys, and their stand-ins.
It's true. Maybe they just had him stand in like in real life. Like if he had to go like to the grocery store, it's like, look, can you I'll pay for it, but you stay in there.
Oh man.
The title of the episode, I always say it's wrong. Mijacogeo, right? Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mijacogeo was the name of Mickey's childhood dog. And that name was taken from the names of his family members. His mom was Janelle, his sister was Coco, and his dad was George. So that's how they named their pup, which is a cool way of naming your dog. The family dog is the family name.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so the reason that Peter and Mickey were allowed to direct episodes was because they had to strike a compromise with Bob Rafelson and Bert Schneider, because the Monkees originally wanted to direct themselves in head, but the Bob and Bert didn't want that. So they said they could each direct a couple of episodes of the TV series. And I think Davey and Mike just didn't want to be bothered with it. And I don't know if Davey cared either.
Yeah, Mike wasn't into the visual arts quite yet.
Yeah, he was talking
very
about
much
that.
into the music, but then later on, Mr. Nesmith does some stuff with the video form.
I wonder if he ever regretted not. I bet you he didn't, because I don't think he had many real regrets in his life. But if he regretted why not just do an episode and direct one?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mike's style.
I think it has to do with his general interest level.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I think
I don't know. He might have been a hard ass if he was a director, and everyone just ends up being pissed at him.
Yeah, he's like the David Fincher of the Monkey series, doing like 90 takes and things.
Oh my God.
The two-headed org is the only thing that the Monkees ever killed on their show. Just if you're keeping score. The chant that they say is a Buddhist mantra, and its translation is, I devote myself to the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Law. So I don't know what cereal Mickey was eating, but it's pretty deep. The name
Frodis Flakes all the way.
Yeah, Frodis Flakes. The name Wizard Glick became the pseudonym of the sexploitation filmmaker Jack Bravman. And his movies are Sex Styles of the Rich and Famous, Girl Busters, Flash Pants, Honey Throat, Swedish Sorority Girls, Night of the Spanish Fly, and All in the Sex Family. And my favorite, Sex Family Robinson.
I mean, I wasn't sure how you going to top Flash Pants, but you done did it, Paco.
Man, oh man. See, there's one thing in the adult film industry they've lost is funny titles of things.
Yeah, it's a lost art. Absolutely.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been my job. So much fun. So, to get into less weird things, the word Frodis was the Monkees' code for marijuana, and they referred to the room that was built to them as the Frodis room, also known as the black box.
Oh, okay.
So, which is why there's always smoke pouring out of the Frodis room and why Niles was always so high.
Yep.
Okay, so Rip Taylor, he has 115 credits as himself. And
what the fuck else is he going to do?
And another 55 credits as him acting as other people, I guess. The Wizard Glick falls into that category.
I guess,
like, he's been on every talk show. He's been in Jackass movies, Hollywood Squares, the WWE. He was also in the Monkees Take the Wheel. Wayne's World 2, a lot of voice work, like DuckTales, The Snorks, Garfield and Friends, The Addams Family, like everything.
Wow. Huh.
Niles Brown, he has 3 credits. He was also in the Monkees Marooned and the Monkees in Texas. So that's 2 of his other credits. So the 3 credits are probably 3 Monkees movies.
All monkey movies.
Yeah. Tony Giorgio, who played the guard, he has 58 credits. The reason I bring him up is he was in The Godfather, I Dream of Jeannie, The A-Team, Charlie's Angels, Gimme a Break, and Moonlighting are some of them. So,
dang.
He made
quite
his
the
rounds.
cross section.
Yeah. Yeah. And that right there is all I've got for the Frodis Caper.
It's a series wrap on the old Monkees.
Yeah, series wrap. Kind of crazy. We don't have any songs to pull from the hat. So I was just thinking we'll just go into a little bit about this whole journey we've been on. Like
it's very, I can't believe it.
Like
the last few episodes, I'm like, yeah, pretty soon we're doing the last one. It's like, yeah, here it is.
Yeah. And it's like, so we'll give you a little bit of history, I guess, here. We've been talking about doing a podcast of some persuasion. And one of the ones I was like, oh, maybe we could do like historic rock moments, but then do them as like a radio play kind of thing, like actors acting it out, like you were there kind of a deal. And that would have been a nightmare. Like
a scripted thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Acting out, stuff like, I don't know, like when John met Paul or something.
Yeah, exactly. Things like that. Or when Jimi Hendrix faked being gay to get out of the army, stuff like that. So, and then one day I think it was me who said to you, like, hey man, what about the Monkees? Because it's something we both really like a lot. It's a niche thing. And because of the episodic television, it's like we could just break down each episode. And I think as soon as we kind of came to that conclusion, it was very obvious. Like, yeah, that's what we're doing is the Monkees.
We spend an awful lot of time just talking about and listening to the Monkees anyway. And it had kind of gone away a little bit, at least for me.
Same.
So it was really a good opportunity to kind of get back into it.
Yeah.
And, your idea to have like, sort of like making an episode guide kind of thing, but we also kind of talk about our experiences with it. That kind of gave it some structure and like gave us something to talk about. And then later on, I was like, hey, how about like, can't just talk about the show. Let's kind of find a way to talk about the music, but like kind of make it interesting and like not just a chronological thing or like prepare a countdown ahead of time and count it all down. Now we got to figure out what could we do. And we eventually kind of developed the hat thing.
Yeah. Cause I remember my idea was we start in the middle and we go towards the best song and towards the worst song. That's what I had. But then you came up like on the fly, maybe you didn't come up with the idea right at the moment, but to me, you just were like, hey, I got this idea. How about we put all the songs in a hat and we pull them out, and then that's how we put them in an order. And I was like, oh, that's great. Because then it's not only is it like what's going to be number one, because number one can keep shifting, but it's also like what's going to be left. Like you keep waiting to see what are they going to pull out this week. And even for us, like it was 100% a random reach in and pull out a piece of paper every time. We didn't have any set up to match up any dates or anything like that.
No, that was an early thing. Was at first it was like let's match up the dates of each episode of the date it came out, because when we started doing it, it was like August, and we're like, we can hit the September dates and everything. That's a little bit too cute, and it was not going to be sustainable. But it was an idea we had.
Yeah, exactly. We worked through some different things, and also for like a behind the scenes kind of thing. When we first started out, it was summer 2019.
Yeah,
and Jeff would drive. We live about 4 hours away from each other. And I was working in the studio. So Jeff would drive up. We'd go into this place, which we realized we didn't even need to go in there. But at the time, at first, like, we should go into the studio and do it there. And I
think it helped to keep us focused, at least definitely for the first one.
Exactly. Yeah.
We had a job to do.
Yeah. And we got in there and we would record 4 episodes on Saturday and 4 episodes on Sunday. And then Jeff would leave and I would have to edit these 8 episodes together. And that is, looking back on, I remember being in a mad dash to try to, because to write out the episodes took much longer than I thought it would. I'd be like, a half hour, probably take 45 minutes to go through and write it out. But really it takes like over an hour and a half to go through it. And so I remember just having to cram in these 8 episodes and just freaking out, doing them the morning of, getting up at like 5 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
And it was
then what
intense.
did we do in November? We did it again.
Yeah.
November 2019.
Yep. You came back.
Same thing on the weekend.
Did it again.
Couple episodes, get a pizza, couple more episodes. Then the next day, couple episodes, get some Popeyes, couple more episodes.
Yeah.
We did that exact same thing in February, Leap Day weekend.
Yep, the last time we were in person.
Yes. Then anyone who's been on Earth knows what happened in March 2020. How the shit hit the proverbial fan.
Yeah, man. It was it's crazy not just to think what we've gone through with this podcast, but the entire world went through so much since we started this podcast till this moment.
Yeah, man. And like right away, it was like, how are we going to do the podcast? We still had some episodes in the can.
Yeah, yeah.
And what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? What does this Zoom stuff? Let's try this. And also kind of engineered, okay, if we just like recorded a Zoom conversation, it's going to sound like crap. Mm-hmm. So like we'll have the Zoom conversation, but also be recording ourselves on each end with a good mic, with a pop screen, with a recording dealie.
Yeah.
Luckily, I have all these things from just being a music dude over the years. So just converting this whole thing to a remote deal didn't cost me a damn dime, which was cool. And then, of course, we had to find out if it was going to work that way, which what begat our Pool It live review special.
Yeah.
The first thing we did that wasn't a Monkees episode because we weren't even sure how or if it was going to work.
Yeah.
And then it totally did. And it's got an awful lot of listens since. And we've done an awful lot more kind of one-off specials since as well. So it's been quite the ride, man.
Yeah. And honestly, with this thing, when we first started, we were like, oh, what do we want to get out of it, this and that. It was really just to do it, to get other Monkees fans to get into it. And those of you who are listening and have come back every week, thank you. It's awesome. We're glad you did, because we know we're not your average Monkees fans if you just have to look at the countdown to see that. But since then, man, like we have both had lengthy conversations with Mike Nesmith.
Yes.
And definitely for me, with the countdown, we like revisiting some songs, hearing some songs I might have only heard once or twice in my life, probably, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But having to pay attention to all these different things has definitely given me a much more rounded, audible view of the Monkees catalog.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And just being able to sort of being out there saying stuff about the Monkees and promoting the show and the music, and like maybe some lapsed fans who used to be into it will get back into it again like we did, like pretty deep, because the Monkees are this, the coolest.
Yeah.
There's nothing else quite like it. Like, we got some perspective on, the last half of the 20th century now. And there was, like, pop culture-wise, there was nothing else quite like the Monkees.
100%. Yeah, they're their own thing in so many different ways. And it's also great to see how many people are still into them. And young people are still getting into the Monkees, which is
Yes,
it's crazy.
I've seen a lot of that on Instagram. People doing, like, the video edits and just, like, fan art and everything. Is just like teenagers are into the Monkees. It's just so appealing, and everybody just, once you get into them, it's hard to get out of them.
It's true. And because of the times too, there's a lot more footage of them because of the show and stuff like that. Then like,
Yes.
if you really get into the Birds, it's like there's a lot of music and stuff, but there's not a lot of who they are kind of thing. And the Monkees really plugs into that.
Yes.
And for people who want to look back at the 60s, the Monkees at points are so 60s that it lives up to everybody's idea of what the 60s are.
Kind of, yeah. Like, it's absolutely a time capsule of the 60s themselves. And, like, you touched the Birds thing you touch on there. Like, we have these 29 hours where we get to visually interact with the Monkees, and they're Mike and Mickey and Peter and Davey. They're not playing. They're technically kind of playing exaggerated versions of themselves, but it's them, and they're talking. You didn't see Roger McGuinn talking to David Crosby about what's for breakfast that day too often. Like, just to have that interaction and have them being this band on the show that's kind of like a struggling band, but easy to root for. And by the way, here's some songs. Like, it was just such a neat concept.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, it's just because, like, hey guys, what about, like, Bob and Bert were like, okay, how about Hard Day's Night except American and on TV?
Yeah, exactly.
That was kind of the jump off, and we're still talking about it today.
Yeah, yeah. And we have to bring up this week, Bob Rafelson passed away.
Yeah, man.
And let's face it, we wouldn't be here doing this. We probably wouldn't know the names of the Monkees, if,
For real, man.
without him and his vision. And this really came from Bob Rafelson and him embracing the 60s, seeing what young people wanted to see when other people could not grasp that.
Yes.
And making this reality and really pushing it and allowing, like, the stuff the Monkees were doing is zany wackiness that's on NBC in prime time and is an enormous hit with young people, which is exactly what they needed. And that all came from, like, Bob and
just
Bert.
something like just picking those four guys.
Yeah.
Getting Boyce and Hart, like, just crafting this whole thing. It was just such an accomplishment, and it's, what more can we say about it? We've been talking about it for hours.
Yeah, exactly.
And, like, he's a big part of that, and very innovative guy. He directed that Monkees on Tour episode that we did a 2-parter about, which is like the first rockumentary, like a tour document.
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
And it was very cool and it's hard to get perspective on just how unusual that was.
Mm-hmm. And also now he goes on to direct Head, and then he produces and helps write with Jack Nicholson, Easy Rider. His 5 Easy Pieces. Like, he launches himself into, like, a real career. Like, there's a book called I've mentioned it before, Easy Riders to Raging Bulls, and it's about the 70s independent movement, and Bob Rafelson is all over it. And he was
bought that for you for Christmas the one year I couldn't find a screenplay for you.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though.
Yeah. But he was a wild man. Like, wild man. Wild. And so yeah, it's a shame to lose Bob this week, but at least we were still doing this so we could give him a little bit of a mention.
For sure.
And so yeah, there's since we've started this, we've lost many in the Monkees camp.
It's a trip, man. Like, Mike himself, Adam Schlesinger.
Yeah. And now Bob.
And it is quite the weird deal to be doing this and to be able to talk about the people in real time as it happens. It's strange.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But, wow.
But yeah, we don't want to go out on a bummer note. And we will also let you know we will be back. We are doing the Monkees movie Head, which will probably be at least a 2-parter. But we're taking some time off.
definitely.
Probably the rest
And
of the
we're also
summer
going to
here.
do, you could also look forward to a big Randomatic countdown wrap-up special.
Correct. We have that coming up. And we also have a couple other specials coming. So don't worry, you're not losing Podcast Valley Sunday forever.
That's right.
Just for a little bit. We're going to be spread out a little bit more, but you'll still be able to hear our sultry voices.
Yeah, we still got some surprises up our sleeves.
Yes. Yes, we do. All right, Jeff. I think we've come to the end here of our Monkees extravaganza. It has been a blast.
Absolutely.
It's kind of funny. I'm now going on a little rant. When I do think of the first season early episodes, it now makes me think of our first season early episodes.
Totally.
So I have this double nostalgia bubble of like what it was like to get back into the Monkees, to see these things again. And yeah, it's been a trip, man.
It's a trip.
I'm
definitely a trip. And I think a lot of the value for me is getting to hang out with you every couple of weeks.
Yep.
Because like you said, we're a few hours apart. We get to hang out at Christmas, maybe once or twice during the year. But this has been the best.
Yeah. No, that's been the best part. Hanging out, talking Monkees, delving into it, knowing that like our 1992 selves get to look forward to doing this is also cool to me.
A couple of idiots with a camcorder.
Yeah.
would be thrilled to know what we ended up getting into.
Exactly.
In like 25 years.
Exactly. So everyone, thank you for sticking with us for all these episodes. Please go back, listen to them again. I'm probably going to go back and listen to them. I haven't since I've edited them, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how, however you listen to it. If you go on YouTube and listen to the episodes, you can comment on the episodes. Let us know what you think. Come say hi.
Yep. And they're all in a playlist there. Easy to find. Easy to get to the next one.
Easy to share with your friends.
There you go. All right, y'all. So, from me, Paco.
And me, Jeff.
Have yourselves a Monkees little evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's got my jacket.